Hello, greetings, and hi. Thank you for tuning in, and it's great to have you with us. It's especially nice that Herwig is here, Herwig Grabner from Ledermax in Austria. What is really cool is whenever we have the manufacturers, the people behind these products, who have developed them and understand them better than anyone else here with us, explaining the products to us, what they had in mind, and how to ideally use them. And in this video, we will now talk about the Cleaner 1 plus Punkt 1, the intensive cleaner that is part of the entire system, ranging from a mild leather cleaner to the intensive one. We also have sealing or protective products. We have special products for hardened leather, and all products are usually also available as sets. Most of them are available as a set.
It's actually cleaner. 1.01 and the conditioner. Well, there isn't a set for that. Okay, maybe not yet, but I'll say more about it later.
Well, Herwig is one of those people, or let's say Herwig founded it many years ago. Ledermax is the brand. It is your son who is completely behind this brand. And also with Danmarks, in that sense, a vessel has been created, a company to which Ledermax belongs. Did I ask that correctly?
Ledermax is now a brand that belongs to the company Danmarks. And the company Danmarks has also belonged to my son since 2021. Yes, my son is also a trained tanner and has completed a chemistry education in Dresden. So he has actually followed in my footsteps, which makes me very happy.
The nice thing is also the logo of Ledermax back there. If you look at the face, that's him. This is that guy. And you just said the absolutely crucial thing for me. This is what sets you apart from all the others. You were tanners, and you are still tanners. You learned to be tanners. That means you were the ones who produced leather in tanneries. Therefore, you really understand leather. You didn't just come up with the idea of understanding leather at some point. You truly understand it. You learned it.
Well, in my life, I have produced well over 100 million square meters of leather, and we have developed a lot more. For a while, the research and development department also reported to me. Daniel learned at my tannery, completed his apprenticeship, then, as mentioned, pursued a chemical education in Dresden, and is now actually with our competitor. So, where I worked in the tannery or where I was the operations manager, he then went to the competition, a larger tannery in Austria, actually the largest in Austria. That was the company Boxmarkt, and he also worked in technology and research and development for a few years, so he knows what it's all about.
I think it's safe to say that you understand leather. Let's leave it at that. Now let's talk about Cleaner 1.01. Can you explain to us what it is, what you had in mind with it, and especially how it differs from Cleaner?
So the Cleaner is, in comparison to, is this the intensive cleaner? This one is our mild cleaner. The 1.01 has a pH value of about 7.6, give or take, depending on the control system. New is absolutely neutral, so also with a little plus or minus. It really depends on the batch. So overall, a pH value of 7.6 might sound a bit critical, but it's just for comparison. So in many areas, the normal drinking water has a higher pH value than this cleaner here.
And take a look at the safety data sheets of all the use and many other leather cleaners. They range from 8 to 9, sometimes even up to 11.
This is actually quite logically explained. The higher the pH value, the easier it is to make a cleaner effective. The intensity of the cleaning power naturally increases with the pH value through the surfactants and the saponification that takes place. Well, it's not just the surfactants, it's actually the pH value itself. So with a high pH value, I can saponify fats, especially, for example, with sodium hydroxide, which works very well. That means I can make very inexpensive cleaners that actually have a super high cleaning power, but are not gentle on the top coat, that is, on the leather. And this is exactly where the know-how lies. We have a cleaner that is very gentle on the top coat, at a nearly neutral pH level, but brutal on dirt. So it cleans really well, has a very high cleaning power, and does so without aggressive tools.
You don't need brushes, you don't need scrub pads. It also cleans with a gentle tool. We'll show you later.
Very good. Yes, what should be added here is that the pH value is just one part of a gentle cleaning process. That means, for example, if there were also alcohols in there, or ketones, or acetone, or anything else, or aldehydes, for instance, then it is really the case that it would also be bad. As mentioned, the pH value is not the only factor in determining whether a cleaner is gentle or not. And yes, we have 0 of those harsh solvents and so on in here. So there are no solvents, no alcohol or anything like that in it.
That means it is truly a strong yet gentle cleaner.
One could say that it is a strong cleaner for dirt, but a gentle cleaner for the second time.
Perfect.
It foams very well, I must say. So this one is in comparison to the other. The other one does foam a bit too, but significantly less. It's not as good.
But you can also fill it into a foam dispenser bottle.
You can do it. However, it is not as intense or stable a foam as from...
Okay, that is a difference.
You can do it, yes. So it's now. I actually do it. Personally, I really enjoy working with it, with the FOMO. I have to say I always rejected it at first. 1000, because I said I can do it myself with a sponge. Let's take a look at it right away. In the meantime, I have become a bit lazy. So when I take care of my car, and I don't do much else, I actually prefer to use a foam dispenser bottle.
I understand. It is available in both, available as a regular bottle and directly in your foam dispenser.
It is available in 50 ml, 100 ml, and 200 ml. The 200 ml version also contains an additional odor neutralizer.
Wait, I will get it for you. We really have a better one.
Exactly, that's over there too.
Exactly.
So this is basically the same cleaning performance. It's the same cleaner, but here there's an additional odor absorber included. In other words, if you, for example, somewhere.
When you clean a smoker's car and also want to treat the leather.
Exactly. So that is optimal. With the smoke car, of course, there are many other things to clean as well. But just for the leather surface, it wouldn't really be optimal.
Dog author.
Of course, classic cars often have a musty smell, and this can be effectively addressed with this product.
I think much further. But if someone is constantly touching their steering wheel and has strong perfumes or hand creams, maybe they also have their own odors that they would like to get rid of.
However, there are also unavoidable situations, such as when someone might have thrown up in the car and things like that.
On the leather, of course, right?
Or dogs, in general, animals, kebab.
The good old kebab sauce that has dripped onto the seat.
Now, there was a brief moment when some milk spilled, for example. That can smell terrible when the milk naturally goes sour. Well, but just like with all odor eliminators, it doesn't help if I just spray a little bit in there now. The entire car really needs to be cleaned, or just the area where something happened. Exactly.
I think we have covered everything there is to know for January 1st. Now let's move on to the application, where you will show us how to ideally apply it to your own car. Please go ahead. Very good. Let's go over there. So, Herwig is currently preparing the test area that we will be working on shortly. By the way, that up there, he just told me, is a nice anecdote. Herwig, what is that?
This is my wife's garter from our wedding. So, well, I would say it will be 34 years this May.
Very, very nice. Do you have this in every car?
Always. So when the car is changed, the stocking bank is automatically changed as well. My lucky charm.
Very nice. So, you explain to us briefly how you are proceeding, what materials you have, and then we'll take a look.
I will now show you how to use the Cleaner 01.01 with the FOMO bottle. If you look at it, you can see that you could also do this without FOMO, just putting the product in. You can also knead it foamy in the sponge, in the case where we practically have the foamer.
You still have the sponge? In a bowl of water.
This is simply a bowl of warm water. You should always have this when cleaning, so that when the sponge gets dirty, you don't spread the dirt evenly, but rather rinse it out and squeeze it. Well, the sponge should be squeezed so that no more water comes out, but it should still be damp. Warm water is also advantageous, because warm water simply cleans better than cold water.
That's how it is, then you apply it to the sponge.
Exactly, just 2 or 3 pumps of it. This essentially applies the cleaner to the leather surface, and then you wait a little bit. It doesn't have to be a long time. Again, clean from seam to seam and then wipe dry, so the cleaner should not dry out. Ah, yes.
And do you use cotton cloths?
I don't use microfiber cloths. So here, basically for cleaning, you can press the sponge firmly. That's not a problem at all. Nothing will happen.
That's the beauty of the sponge. Exactly, that is it.
So really also in the circle of movements working almost at the seam, you can see there is almost nothing on it. As mentioned, it is of course the passenger seat, so it hasn't been used as much. The driver's seat has been used since 2001, but overall, the leather has been cleaned and maintained with the conditioner for kilometers. The conditioner itself also has an anti-soiling effect. This means that the resoiling tendency is significantly reduced. So it's also the case that when wiping, you don't necessarily have to rub a lot. You can just go over it a bit, but you don't have to press down hard. So here, the cleaning effect comes from the sponge and the cleaner and should not happen through drying. So it's really just drying off. As mentioned, you can wipe a little bit. That's not a big deal.
Okay, I will come over to you and then we will tackle the topic.
Shall we do this? Yes. Okay. So down here.
And even now here on a seat, this is the passenger seat where there really wasn't much dirt on it. You can already see the difference.
But as I said, it was also KM. Normally I do it all.
I intentionally left it a bit longer for the video so that on the right side it is cleaned, nicely matte and clean, while on the left side it has a slightly satin sheen and is noticeably darker. I would say there is almost a greenish tone in it. At least here on the camera it looks that way. So there is already a significant difference. From the strong leather cleaner 01.01 here.
Okay, so we are basically here now. I want to show you how to apply the conditioner. To explain briefly again, conditioner is a sealant with integrated care. I apply a bit of conditioner here, then move to the second area and distribute the product a little. After that, I go back to the padding and gently dab it in. You can now clearly see that in the spot where I applied it, product is still coming onto the leather. That means I turn the sponge over and practically do the same thing again with the dabbing.
With the dry side?
With the dry side, just go over it a bit more, dab it afterwards, and the matter is settled.
So, now we have the special situation that Herwig's seats were very clean because he has already cleaned them and sealed them with the conditioner. The steering wheel is already a bit greasier, as we have seen. That's why we wanted to show you the cleaning performance of Cleaner 01.01 here on the steering wheel, because I believe we will see a nicer before and after effect. I have the water bowl again. Rinse the sponge briefly or dampen it with U-sand. Then I take the cleaner 01.01 again, apply the foamed cleaner here. And just like with the seat, first distribute it over the entire area and let it work for a short while. And then we can already start with the cleaning. Now we already know from Herwig's various theory videos that the steering wheel leather is inherently more resistant. And because this sponge doesn't damage the leather at all, no matter how hard I press here, I can and am allowed to press here and even scrub a bit. I believe scrubbing is the right word. This gives the cleaner 01.01 a chance to do its job. The beauty of the leather market cleaners in combination with the sponges is that they work so well together. So Herwig, could you hand me one briefly? Ah, there it is. I believe Herwig has just placed the cotton cloth for me. Very good. And here too, it's not about rubbing vigorously with the cotton cloth, but just doing it. Dabbing it dry, basically. And I will also show you the sponge now. There isn't much dirt in it, so what is definitely not in it is color, just a very light soiling. But I can already see that the before and after effect will be visually more impressive for you. The difference is now visually significantly more striking on the seats, which, thanks to the conditioner, were in very, very good condition. And here we have clear evidence that the combination of the sponge and cleaner 01.01 really, really cleans well. Now we have almost forgotten a very important thing regarding the cleaner and cleaner 01.01, namely Herwig.
Both cleaners are also suitable for vegan leather. Both cleaners are perfectly suitable for Alcantara, and not just suitable, but specifically developed for it. As mentioned, if the Alcantara is really stuck together, I would recommend using the first cleaner. It works just as well with 10. You just need more cleaning cycles for it to come off. Please do not use the conditioner on Alcantara, because, as I mentioned in the video about the conditioner, it creates a sacrificial layer. A seal is integrated with it. This means it would cause the fine fibers of the Alcantara to stick together again. We definitely don't want that. We want the fibers in the Alcantara to remain open, so please, under no circumstances should you condition it. Alcantara itself does not actually need to be conditioned, as it is a synthetic fiber. This means that it is sufficient for it to be cleaned regularly. That's it. The nice thing about it, which I may have forgotten to mention, also applies to mites. Both cleaners do not need to be neutralized after use. So, after cleaning, it is sufficient to wipe it dry with a cotton cloth, and if you go over it again with a damp cloth, that won't harm it, of course. That's clear. You can do it, but it is not necessarily required. As mentioned, the pH value of these products is so neutral that it is not necessary at all, not an issue at all.
Well, that means for all types of leather, genuine leather, synthetic leather, Napa leather, and vegan leather, with vegan leather being just another term for synthetic leather.
I would not use these three, meaning these two hardness levels, for vanillin leather. For a Napa leather item, I would use a special cleaner that is specifically designed for aniline or very open-pored leather. However, I believe there is a separate video about that.
And exactly, because something is coming from you.
So we have a cleaner in store. The cleaner would additionally fix the color, fats, and tannins in aniline leather. It also has a completely different pH range, but as mentioned, this has nothing to do with automotive leather.
It is very, very, very rarely aniline leather.
Exactly. So, there is a case with steering wheels where most people cannot decide whether it is Alcantara or hunting leather. It is also referred to as suede, which is the underside of a hide or leather. In that case, you would indeed need this special cleaner. And there was also a series from BMW that featured buffalo leather, which was quite aniline.
VW in the Phaeton had, I believe, or in the Touareg has.
So there are already a few items in the car that have no treatment on them and are completely natural. And this should be done with a special cleaner that works within a pH range and truly has a fixing effect. Otherwise, you can't go wrong with these two cleaners for 99% of all cars. Understood. Yes, that was the cleaner. 1-1 actually.
Exactly. And it also comes in a set with the conditioner. I think it's nice or important that we talk about that now. The question arises, when do I use the cleaner and when do I use cleaner 01.01? And above all, how often should I ideally use the leather cleaners?
Okay, so we recommend performing a leather cleaning 3 to 4 times with a normal mileage of around kilometer, which we consider normal, every 3 to 4 months. Yes, exactly. And that's actually how it is, so I always say, when I have dark leather, like black, anthracite, dark gray, or dark blue, for example, it is sufficient to clean and care for it 3 times a year. As I said, always at a certain mileage. Just because I am doing less now, it doesn't mean that I should do much less. That means if I only drive 3, 4, or 5,000 kilometers now, I should at least clean it twice. Good. Yes, so I don't necessarily have to do it 3 times, but twice would be good. And the reason is, as I mentioned earlier, there are microorganisms and bacterial damage. This means that if there are any skin parts or skin flakes and so on, or skin oils, for example, somewhere on the leather it collects in folds, and then microorganisms come that want to nibble it away. And the excretion products of these microorganisms are so aggressive that it practically leads to the first cracks. This means leather cracks, or it is usually not the case that there is a lack of fat or that it is old or anything like that. Exactly. But in most cases, these are the first cracks, right? These micro cracks are damages caused by bacteria and microorganisms. Therefore, it should be cleaned and maintained at least twice, even for classic cars, 2001 times a year.
That's a question that is asked very often, especially when one receives this recommendation, yes, what is in between? What if I need to clean my leather once a week because I have greasy hands, because I drive a lot, because I use hair gel or something like that? So you clearly say to clean 3 to 4 times a year, then condition not. You really say clearly, do not clean in between, not with water. I have to share my car with someone, colleagues, and so on.
For me, hygiene takes precedence over material preservation. It doesn't help me if I feel disgusted by the steering wheel just because my colleague might have greasy hands. I don't want to touch that. For example, when I'm traveling somewhere on a plane and I rent a car, I always bring a small bottle with me to clean the steering wheel with your cleaner beforehand. Yes, of course. I'm a bit particular about that. I just don't like to touch that. And yes, if it's not my car that I'm driving myself, I have no problem if my son or my wife drives it sometimes. Yes, I don't care. But I have to say, if I really have to share my company car with 1, 2, or more colleagues, then hygiene absolutely comes first, before the machine.
The small 50 ml bottles that you have, you can take them on the plane, right? See, travel tip for you.
That's definitely a topic. And from that perspective, as I said, then yes, so my steering wheel, when I have a car sharing vehicle, then, if I may remember it now, I do it much more often.
But now comes the big but. Then you also say that the steering wheel is a consumable, then...
Exactly, that's just how it is, and it can happen. And as I said, the more often I do this, even if I use distilled water, eventually this leather might also be overconditioned or overcleaned after 100 kilometers or so. That sounds really, really bad. Let's say, if you clean or care for leather incorrectly, for example with a magic eraser or these melamine resin sponges, and you only spend a few seconds on it, then in just a few seconds, you can damage it more than if I were to care for my steering wheel every week with proper products and proper tools. So this is it now. I don't want to say that it has to be done immediately, but it has to be worth it to me to say that hygiene comes first. If I have to restore or replace my steering wheel once every 5, 6, or 7 years and spend, let's say, around 100 on the restoration, it has to be worth it to me. I also change my brakes from time to time.
That's right. So it's just a matter of when to use the cleaner and when to use Cleaner 0101.
So Cleaner 01.01 is suitable for brand new cars during the first few months. And if I start using Cleaner 01.01 from the beginning and continue to do so regularly, about 3 to 4 times a year, then I actually never have to switch to anything else. This way, I have proper care and protection with the conditioner right from the start, and I can stick with it. That's always the first step. If I take over a car now, buy a used car, and I say, okay, I want to clean it, then I will first work with Cleaner 01.01. I will buy a set like that, apply the conditioner, and then I will see and say, okay, if I want to clean it intensively again a second time, that's also no problem. So Cleaner 11, as mentioned, is also very gentle. I can also stick with the cleaner for the first time. However, if I say, okay, I'm actually not that dirty, maybe every 3 to 4 months, and the conditioner also protects against dirt, then I can eventually switch back to that and do it permanently. But there are not only people who do this permanently, there are of course also people who do it once a year, or maybe once every 2 years, then rather 100, then think, well, I believe that is relatively clear in that sense.
Okay, so I understood you correctly. The conditioner, that is your care and sealing product, which lasts me until the next cleaning. So I clean the leather, apply it, then I have peace for 3 to 4 months, and then I repeat the process and apply the conditioner again.
So exactly. As I said, the conditioner is like an invisible blanket. Yes, you apply it after cleaning, and when you come back in 3 or 4 months, the conditioner is still absolutely there. The dirt is on the conditioner on this sacrificial layer, but the cleaner removes it, so you are cleaning both, and it dissolves this protective layer again. So the cover is practically removed, a new cover is placed on, and the leather always stays clean. So this is the fundamental idea. That's why you don't need a sealant that lasts 3, 4, or 5 years. As I said, this sealant, I once tested it in practice, yes, on the BMW with a beige leather. We dyed the conditioner, so we colored it beige with 2%, which works, by the way. And after a year, we checked if it was still there. And lo and behold, it was still there. He was still there. So I can say that if you don't do any treatments with titles or just small cleanings in between, like with moisture or just with water, the conditioner will definitely last for about 30.
That's a very good point, because there are many who keep asking if they can clean their leather with a leather quick detailer in between when I apply that. The leather quick detailer will likely dissolve the cleaner as soon as it cleans.
Take a damp cloth. So a clear recommendation is to blow it out, vacuum it, or use something like a Swiffer to dust it off. That's all okay. Otherwise, no moisture, and please also no care wipes or cleaning wipes, as they usually contain alcohol. Yes, or that's something that most people underestimate, what solvents actually do.
I mean, consider this a clear recommendation. You only need these two products or Cleaner 01.01 and apply the conditioner every 3 to 4 months. In between, you have peace of mind for 2001. Enjoy that. You don't have to do something new every week. So, I believe you have seen, first of all, this is not rocket science. Leather cleaning is not a complicated task. There are a few important principles to keep in mind. And the beautiful thing is, if you stick to these principles, it doesn't matter whether you use your products or others that help. In any case, use a sponge instead of a brush to clean near the seams, and do not foam too wet, and so on. For me, Cleaner 01.01 is, to summarize, an incredibly effective cleaner that is still gentle on the top coat of the leather. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Already made a point.
That's very good. And it also makes it special. From my perspective, it makes it unique. And that's why you should definitely take a look at it. Herwig, thank you very much for showing it to us. And as always in these videos, I will leave the final word to you.
Yes, as always, and I don't mean this just as a consolation. Stay healthy. Yusin is really meant sincerely, and yes, keep your spirits up, and we'll see each other. Bye.